Hey, everybody. This is Bill Woodcock. Today is Tuesday, June 22nd, and you are watching or listening to another edition of Forward Maryland. I'm going to tell you, this podcast is going to have a little bit of an edge to it, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this is the second time I've done it tonight. So the first time, I went all through this podcast, 30 minutes of it, and guess what happened? I went to get the recording, and the sound went out. So no sound, no podcast, except for those of you who are very good lip readers. You can make out what I am saying, but that's has now pissed me off. So now this podcast is going to have a little bit of an attitude on it because I'm annoyed. But that also might make it better. So here we go. So today's podcast, for the second time, have I mentioned, is kind of derivative of those old 53 blog posts called Some Things I Think, where we look at topics from local to the global. And I share my thoughts on them and what do I think. So let's get right into it, shall we? And let's start with things going on an international level. Things you don't hear in U.S. media because they're too busy, providing infotainment. So the Taliban, remember them? They were kind of a thing a while back. They are getting ready to take over Afghanistan as soon as the U.S. forces leave in September 11th or after September 11th. I'm a little bit concerned about that. I don't really think 12th century Islamic law or Islamic rule has a place in today's modern world, but hey, looks like a lot of other people are very cool with it, so why not? So this sucks, and I don't like this development at all. After for a good country, good people, and the nation of Afghanistan, and so I hope that things work out there differently. Also, in Ethiopia, there is a a rebel group, and I believe it's called the Tinyar province in northwestern, I should say, Ethiopia, who are fighting. They're separatists and they're fighting the Ethiopian government forces who are aided by Eritrean forces, their neighbors. And given that they are a Red Sea nation, Ethiopia is on the mouth of the Suez Canal, and my goodness, remember all the nonsense that happened not that long ago when that tanker got wedged in the canal. We have to keep an eye on that and look at what's going on in that. They won't call it a civil war, but it's definitely a brush fire that's going on there in the fine nation of Ethiopia. That's what's going on in the world. Oh, also another thing is that for those of you out there who believe in cryptocurrency, I happen to believe that cryptocurrency is the new beanie baby. I am getting closer to being proven right because China just keeps mucking with cryptocurrency in its public statements, and cryptocurrency keeps dropping like a stone. So between the Chinese government, the U.S. government, and Elon Musk slapping the diss on Bitcoin and all its brethren coin, you might by the end of this year, your crypto holdings may be about worth the same amount of its may be worth its price in sand. So be careful what you invest in. That said, I have a couple $100 in cryptocurrency. It's not a lot of money. I consider it like betting in a casino. Only bet what you can lose. So, pardon me for a second. Ooh, I am rotating. But first, a little bit of a break while I enjoy a tasty beverage off camera. Don't wanna advertise, don't you know? So now we will go to U.S. issues. New York City mayor's races today. If I were voting, I would vote for Catherine Garcia. I like her platform. I like her experience. Today is, I believe, the largest experiment in the United States in what's called ranked choice voting. So it will be interesting to see how that turns out. It'll be interesting to see if there's satisfaction with the result. I understand that New York City is very slow to get results in. I don't understand why that happens, but it does. So, we'll see what happens there. I'll be quite interested. Speaking of voting and elections, mere hours ago, the Republican Party slammed the voter reform bill in Congress. Not really slammed it. I mean, they all voted against it. We needed 60 votes, or Democrats needed 60 votes to pass it because the filibuster is still in effect. I'm not really sure what I feel about the filibuster going away. I understand it would create a lot of changes and maybe a lot of progressive things that could happen. But once you take it away, you really can't put it back on. And when Democrats did this sort of thing with for example, using a simple majority to approve judge appointments, judicial appointments, Republicans used that to much greater effect. And, now we had what happened with Merrick Garland, in the Supreme Court. And we've had McConnell come out in the last week talking about that he doesn't think that if, Biden is running in 2024, or just simply that 2024 is an election year. And so there will be no Supreme Court debate on a nominee in 2024. So, we should be careful as Democrats what we wish for, because we might get it. And it seems that whenever we come up with these ways to outsmart the Republicans and bring just causes to the forefront, Republicans laugh, wipe our noses in it, turn us upside down, and shake out our lunch money. We should be a little bit more strategic. Now, what that solution is to not breaking the filibuster, no idea. But I don't think we should look at it as a simply binary choice of having the filibuster or not. Because the same applies to infrastructure reform. It looks like there's a little bit of an agreement there, a $1.2 trillion package passed by this bipartisan group of 20 senators. Whether it goes somewhere, we shall see. But at least it has, a chance of being bipartisan. Now, what was incredibly bipartisan was the legislation to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. That, I think, literally happened in about a week, considering as I am of the age where I remember the years of debate and discussion about whether Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday should be a federal holiday and whether people should get the day off. I'm amazed at the speed in which Juneteenth became a holiday. For those of you who got the day off, as I did, it was quite a sudden and very welcome day off. I hope it was a meaningful day. I hope it took some time to commemorate the day and understand why the day is. I know I did, and it was, I'm very happy to see this day join the pantheon of federal holidays. There are probably some more that should join as well. And I'm not just saying that because I like days off. June is also Pride Month, and so mad props go to Penn State, and I watched him play for Penn State for 4 years, but current Las Vegas Raider Carl Nassib on coming out yesterday. What a courageous thing to do. What a cool thing to do during Pride Month. And what better team for him to be on than the Las Vegas Raiders? Well, known as that team that marches to a different drummer in the NFL, and they just kind of do what they want. It showed guts. It showed conviction. It showed grit for him to come out, and more power to you, Carl. I hope you're not alone out there, not just in the NFL, but I have a feeling that in pretty much all the major sports, there are some folks who are not living to their truth, at least on the male side. The female side, the WNBA, the LPGA, they don't quite seem to be as women's soccer don't quite seem to be as, what's the term, backed up as the men do. And I wonder why that is. It's kind of bizarre. Anyway, we go from the federal and national to the state. So there's a blog out there run by a friend of mine named Brian Griffiths. It's called the Duck Pin. And Brian does a monthly gubernatorial top 10. So Brian's a conservative. He was the force behind Red Maryland. And, I noticed there's no gubernatorial ranking from anybody on a more left of center nature. So I shall present now the premier edition of the Forward Maryland Gubernatorial Top 10, June 2022 edition. And this will be updated on about a monthly basis. But first, a beverage break because we don't advertise. Yummy. Anyway, we have 3 Republicans and 7 Democrats in this top 10. So don't say we're not bipartisan. Number 10 is Robin Ficker from Montgomery County, the perennial candidate for pretty much everything. And, why is he number 10? I'm giving him props for being out there 2 years ago, putting up his signs, Ficker 2022, get your 2 cents worth, 2 cents off your sales tax, yeehaw. Robin, you might not be there in July. So, keep up doing what you're doing. Number 9 would be former, I believe he was a Clinton administration official named John Barron, who's a Democrat. Had some very interesting policy positions, such as creating a statewide tutoring program for any student that needs it. They seems to have some innovation there. A little bit of an obscure candidate right now, but like his tone and tenor, like his policies so far, and so we'll see if he can hold on to that number 9 ranking. Number 8 is former Obama administration education secretary John King, who, what better state to run in as an educational candidate than the state of Maryland? Whether or not he can divest himself, or I should say diversify his policy platform, has yet to be seen, but I have high hopes that he can do that. So John King comes in at number 8. Number 7 would be Wes Moore, who very recently threw his hat into the ring. Wes, he seems I'm putting him at the almost at the top of that second, what I'm calling the second tier of Democratic candidates. He's an unknown. He's never run before. I think he probably stands the best chance of holding his own with the more experienced candidates, the ones who are in the top 5 of my rankings. But again, I want to see more. He seems to be very much a progressive's darling right now. Don't know whether or not that's going to hold, but we will see more from Wes Moore as the months go on. And number 6, heading the second 5, would be former Montgomery County Council member, former Obama Labor Secretary, and former DNC Chair Tom Perez, who was going to run for David Trone's seat in Congress. Had Trone decided not to run for re-election. He has not yet announced that he's not running, that Perez, that is, has not yet announced that he's running for governor, but he's expected to make that decision soon. And from what I understand, he's planning on running. So Tom Perez is in there at number 6. Number 5 would be another unannounced candidate, Michael Steele, a Republican, of course, former lieutenant governor, former RNC chair, former candidate for U.S. Senate. If Michael Steele runs, I think it shows a desire by Maryland Republicans to have kind of a turf war. A battle between the traditional Republicans and the Trump Republicans. Unfortunately, I believe right now that is a battle that the traditional Republicans would lose. So I'm not sure that Steele was going to pick this race. A while back, I thought he was for sure in. Now I think he's for sure out. But If he were to get in, he would be the second highest ranking Republican candidate that I could think of. And he would have more than a puncher's chance of winning that primary. So I don't know. I would roll that dice. I don't know Republicans in particular or Maryland politicians in general to be that risk taking. So we'll see what happens. Number four would be former Maryland Attorney General and Montgomery County State's Attorney Doug Gansler. Yes, we know that Doug had a ridiculous end to his 2014 candidacy, but he's been in the outside world for 8 years. He had a very nice opening to his campaign, and he just put the legalization of recreational marijuana use in Maryland high up on the list of issues for the 2022 campaign as he came out with a policy platform supporting that. So we'll see if he gains more traction than he did in 2014. But I think, he's been there before. He served the state well for 8 years as Attorney General. I think, he has a shot. Number three is Rush Baker, the former Prince George's County executive, and who I thought would have been the beneficiary of Democratic votes, such as mine, because I was going to be a Kamenetz voter, and I voted for Baker after, Kamenetz's untimely passing. But it seems like a lot of that support went to Ben Jealous. So we'll see what Baker can do. We'll see if he can. We'll see if he can, improve upon his race, put a better team behind him, and work towards becoming Maryland's first governor of color. Incidentally, 5 of the people in this ranking are people of color, either African American or, in the case of Tom Perez, Hispanic, which I think is impressive. Only one woman, though, which I think is pathetic, and she happens to come in at number 2, and she happens to be very well qualified. Her name is Kelly Schultz, and she is the current Secretary of the Department of Commerce, former Department of Labor head secretary under Larry Hogan. Now, first off, I think if Hogan has coattails, it's going to be this. It's going to be, I think ultimately he's going to come out and he's going to push Kelly Schultz to be his successor hard. She served as head of 2 of the top 3 executive departments in the state. She obviously has a lot of experience, more so in the executive branch of government than really any of Maryland government, than really any candidate for statewide office who I could think of in the time I've been following politics, which is over 30 years. But she has a conservative record. She's from Frederick, which is a very purple area, and it will be interesting to see how she can square herself in a state that is very pro-labor. What her ideas are for reforming state government, with the reality that Maryland is very much a state where the opinion of organized labor matters. So right now, she's introducing herself, she's getting herself known, and we'll see what happens when the rubber hits the road with Kelly Schultz. Number one is, and I admit this is the person who I'm supporting for governor personally at this point, is Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot. Franchot is poising himself as, I believe, the Joe Biden of this race, experienced between his years in the legislature and now 16 years as the Maryland Comptroller, succeeding political giants in the state of Maryland and Louis Goldstein and William Donald Schaefer. He knows every corner of this state. He knows what the job is of the comptroller. He sat on the Board of Public Works for 16 years with governors of both parties. He's the most experienced candidate in the race. I think he'll be 73 by the time of the election, so he certainly won't be the youngest candidate in the race. But I don't see that as a detriment to him. So until someone proves me otherwise, Peter Franchot is the leader. And I do expect that he would have Democratic support in areas where Democrats would need to win in order to win the governor's mansion back, in places like Baltimore County, in places like Anne Arundel County, Howard County. So, again, from top to bottom: Francho, Schultz, Baker, Kanzler, Steele, Perez, Moore, King, Barron, Ficker. There you go. Wrapping up quickly as I'm losing light. And oh my God, don't I wish that the sound comes through on this damn podcast the second time. But some issues near and dear to Howard County. It has been a joy the past few weeks being part of the reopening and the reawakening of Howard County as Howard County and the whole country awakens from the pandemic, being able to sit in a full capacity restaurant and not worry, being able to go outside and do what you want, go into the grocery store without wearing a mask. However, I will advise to my friends and neighbors, please bring a mask with you wherever you go. There are still people who need you to be masked. They may have immune issues. They may have other illness issues that put them in a high risk category, and so you should still be masked around them. So it's just a nice thing to do. So please wear one. Howard County has announced that its July 4th fireworks are going on full blast. So everybody should get down to the fireworks this year if you can. The school year ended, and I believe that the state sports championships either have just concluded or are about to conclude. By the way, congratulations again to the Oakland Mills outdoor track team on their state 3A championship. Go Scorps. And it looks like the fall will be full speed ahead with full classes, and also moderate social distancing, or looks like there'll be a hybrid option. I think we have not yet written the full story as to what form school will take in Howard County, but it's going to happen over the next couple of months. I guarantee it. And last, it looks like there are going to be some contested primaries in the 1st and 4th Council District. Chair of the Howard County, I think it's Board of Appeals, Naveen Kurtam, has announced that she's going to run for Council District 1 on the Democratic side. So that would put her against Liz Walsh, who is yet to announce her intentions, I believe, but I'm pretty sure she's expected to run for re-election. And I won't name a name because, I do know the name, but I don't want to speak for somebody who is not yet formally announced. But I do understand that there's a gentleman who is fairly prominent in county administration who is going to be entering the Democratic primary in District 4 against the incumbent council member, Deb Young. So hopefully we will have all of these candidates and more on future editions of this podcast. So that brings me to the end. I'll be interested to see how this version, this very long take 2, compares with my extremely long take 1. I am going to finish here in my undisclosed location in Columbia, Maryland, enjoy the rest of my beverage, hope that this processes and that I get the sound. And if not, I am just going to wallow in despair because this sucks. Anyway, but I have enjoyed doing this, and thank you. I believe we'll do this again over the weekend. So again, my name is Bill Woodcock. You have been watching or listening to Forward Maryland. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Take care.